Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our event. You're very welcome to this morning's webinar, which is Meet Our Students. As you can see, we have 3 Queen's students with us today, and this is going to give you the opportunity, whether you are currently have received an offer from Queen's and you're thinking about making your choices, or you're just weighing up your options in terms of universities and you want to find out more and what it's like to be a student at Queen's. You've come to the right place. You'll be able to speak to our students today about their experiences of studying at Queen's and living in Belfast, and you're going to have the opportunity to ask them any questions that you want. So before I start, I'll just let everyone introduce themselves. So John, if you want to go first.
Hi everyone, I'm John. I'm from Liverpool in England and I study French and Spanish. I'm also a second year too. Rebecca?
Yeah, hi, I'm Rebecca. I just finished 4th year and I'm from Ballymena. I study electrical and electronic engineering. Charlotte?
I think you need to unmute your mic there, Charlotte. Oh, it's okay. So we'll be able to hear from Charlotte just in a minute, but she is from London. She's a member of QUB Dance and she studies English and history at Queen's. So before we kick things off, we are going to hear from each of the students individually. We have a pre-recorded video just in case there's any technical hitches. So we're going to play that for you now, and that's going to allow you to hear a wee bit more about each of the 3 students we have here today, and also another student who wasn't able to make it this morning. So if you just listen to this video, and then afterwards you'll have the opportunity to ask the students questions. The video will last around 20 minutes.
Hi, I'm Charlotte and I just completed my second year. Hi, I'm Charlotte and I just completed my second year of studying English and history at Queen's. So I'm originally from just outside London, so moving to Queen's was a big step, but I'm so glad I took that opportunity and moved to Northern Ireland for studying at university. Studying Northern Ireland has given me an amazing opportunity to learn about aspects of the subjects that I have previously neglected or not studied much before, so a big focus on Irish politics, Irish history and Irish literature, which I've really appreciated as I've never studied it before. However, if you want to study other aspects of history and English or whatever subjects, there is obviously the opportunity to study on a more global level. So I've taken some more global focused modules this term as well. So I took one on African nationalism this year, which was really interesting as I've never studied that before. But I've also done ones on American literature. I did one on the American South. So English and history at Queen's gives me so many opportunities to study broadly across the subjects. Like, it's really great. Aside from my studies, Queen's has also allowed me to create a really good student experience and a student lifestyle that I really enjoy. So a big aspect of this is being on the Queen's dance team, which is one of the great things about being at Queen's. So made up of around 30 really good dancers, all who have become great friends. I get to rehearse, train and perform with them on so many occasions. So one of the things is annually they hold a Queen's charity Strictly Come Dancing, held by QUB Dance, but in collaboration with RAG, which is the Student Charity Society. So for 2 years in a row now, I've attempted to teach a fellow student how to ballroom dance, which has its challenges, but it's such a good experience and such a good night out afterwards as well. And it's a great way to round off your first term because it's in December. So both years I've really thoroughly enjoyed doing that. As well as this, with Queen's Dance, I've been able to travel to Manchester, Edinburgh and Liverpool to perform at intervarsity competitions. Where basically like 20 different universities and their dance teams turn up, show some amazing choreography. It's such a good atmosphere, it's so much fun. Their weekends away with your whole dance team, they're so fun, like the 30 of us go on a big night out afterwards. It's a really good experience. This year I was also the vice president of the team, So working with the president to get all this together, to organise our showcases, Strictly Come Dancing, fundraise for the team and organise our competitions it's had its challenges, but it was also so rewarding when seeing like our team up on stage and like doing some amazing dances and performing and everyone like loving it. It was just so much fun and so rewarding and so worth it. So originally from London, moving to Belfast was a bit daunting, but it's so rewarding and so worth it. So if you're a fellow GB student or you're from England or Scotland, I just want to reassure you that getting home and visiting whilst at university is so easy. So although in first term I tried to not actually return that frequently so I could get used to my new home and think of Belfast as my home, if you want to, it's so easy to go home during reading week or on a weekend even. Flights are so frequent and cheap. It's less than an hour on the bus to the airport from city centre, and then the flight to Gatwick is less than an hour. The flight to Edinburgh when I visited family was even shorter, and when I visited my sister in Manchester it was literally up and down like so quick. You take a nap, you don't even realise you're in a different place. They're normally quite cheap. On EasyJet you can get them for like £50 return if you do it at the right time and like pick the correct flight, so it's so easy. Another aspect of Queen's is the scholarship if you're a GB student. So because I'm from England originally, I get a reduced like academic fee at Queen's because I achieve like certain grades. So if you achieve like high grades but they're like attainable, like they're not ridiculously high, then you can get a scholarship. You can either get a full academic one or you can get an academic and lifestyle one. So the lifestyle one offers like money for flights and stuff like that and other benefits. Another really comforting thing of moving to Belfast when I'd never visited before was the accommodation provided by Queen's. So in first year I lived in BT2, which was brand new accommodation. It was amazing. It was in the city centre, so same as BT1. It was brand new, small double beds, TVs in the kitchen, en suites, really modern, really nice. It was a little bit on the small side because of the location, but it was organised so well that you didn't really notice. And also you got to use the BT1 gym free of charge, which was really good, as well as, you know, you can buy a membership for the PEC, which is the whole university gym. I had friends who also lived in BT9 though, and they said that had its own positives. So that's in the Queen's Quarter, slightly larger rooms, more of a student atmosphere, so it depends on what you want. There's something for everyone. Whilst, you know, BT2 and BT1 are nearer to Cathedral Quarter, which is great for going out and also for working, because I worked in many of the bars in first and second year, which is a really good way to earn money and have fun as well and meet new people. So BT1 and BT2 is nearer to like Cathedral Quarter, but BT9 is nearer to Queen's, so it's nearer to like the Speakeasy, which is a student bar, and then like Parlour and Bot and stuff like that. So, you know, you've got something wherever you are. So that was really good, having that accommodation, like having that kind of safety net, like to stay there. That was really helpful for me. As well as this, Belfast is just such a great student city. Like the nights out are obviously good, and each accommodation like provides you with a really good safe base for then having nights out. For example, there's security at BT1 and BT2 and BT9. That was really like nice, knowing that if you came back, like it was safe and there was someone looking after you. And like the pubs and bars are obviously so much fun, and obviously they do provide work as well if you need a little help with that student loan. So that's really good, and Cathedral Quarter is just so lively and so busy all the time, and it's so nice. But also the food in Belfast is really good. That really surprised me, the fact that like there's so many amazing restaurants. When your family go over, you can like take them to really nice ones, but then when it's just you and you're on the student budget, there's Botanic, which has like all the takeaways and stuff, so that's really good. And yeah, so overall I would just say that Queen's has been such a good experience for me, and if you're from Northern Ireland you probably know this and hopefully you'll choose Queen's. But if you're a GB student or an international and you find it a bit daunting, I can promise you it's not that scary, and it's probably one of the best decisions I've ever made. So overall I would honestly recommend Queen's as a great university for providing a great study environment, a great like student environment. You can have such a good lifestyle there, and I'm just really glad that I did it. So I hope that you guys make the right choice about your universities. Thanks!
Hi, I'm Mossy Sands and I'm a first year medical student. First year was brilliant. Unfortunately it was curtailed due to everything that's going on at the minute, but the time I had in Queen's this year was honestly fantastic, and I genuinely mean that. Medicine is quite time consuming, and there's a lot of contact hours, which I actually quite enjoyed because it was quite like school in some ways. So in school you'd obviously be used to 9 to 3 or 9 to half 3. Medicine's kind of like that in terms it's 9 to maybe 4, but you have a longer lunch break, etc. Like, it all works out pretty similarly, and I found that quite easy because it eased my transition over from school into uni. The lectures are brilliant, so you'll have lectures of, say, with your old class of about 260, 270, and tutorials then, which are smaller kind of groups, which are between 15 to about, say, 25. But honestly, it was fantastic, and there was a nice variety as well between the lectures, which are obviously bigger groups, and then tutorial, which is small group learning, which kind of reinforces what you do in your lectures throughout the week. As well, there are nice clinical blocks as well, so you'll be in clinical skills in the MBC, and also there is a nice bit of clinical placement with the family attachment scheme, and then also just on your allocated experience throughout the second semester, which I really enjoyed, and it give you a taste of what's to come in the next 4 years, which was brilliant. I think that the early clinical kind of experience was really kind of reinforced my decision to do medicine as a career, because doing lectures and tutorials, sometimes you kind of get lost of what's at the end, really, but becoming a doctor and seeing patients. But the kind of clinical elements really reinforced and gave you kind of a goal and an aim to keep going. I also lived in Elms throughout first year. So Elms, I was in Hollygrove 4, so I'm surprised I remember that, but it was brilliant. I was debating getting a house with my friends from school, but I really actually am glad I went to Elms, just due to the fact that you get to meet so many people that you never would have met if you just simply got a house with your friends from school. And if people are obviously going to uni, it's whole new experience, whole new people. You're kind of worried about making friends. Will I make friends? In Elms, you most definitely will. I really personally enjoyed it, and it's kind of nice as well because living at home, I know personally that I was a bit of a mummy's boy and I had everything done for me, but Elms is a nice kind of hybrid because you still have your heating and all your bills paid for under the fee, and as well as that, it's kind of more chilled out than potentially a house might be, which is great. Extracurricularly, I played rugby throughout secondary school, and I really enjoyed it, and fortunately I was quite good at it. Maybe it's because I'm so tall, but I am luckily a recipient of the EAP scheme with Queen's, which is the premier scholarship. I'm involved with the Ulster Sub Academy also, and have received Irish age grade honours and stuff in the past, something which I'm very proud of. And yeah, really. So the EAP scheme, just to talk through it, it's a brilliant package for anyone thinking about applying next year or the following year into Queen's. I would definitely apply for it. The EAP provides a full service package for all our athletes on the scheme, so that ranges from your medical bills. So say if you had an injury, Queen's would help cover the physio needs, or even if you needed further intervention. As well, there's S&C from Mike McGurnan, who's one of the best I've ever worked with, which is brilliant as well if you need it. And also there's a nice monetary fee as well, and a nice bursary, which is great, and it kind of eases things and helps things financially throughout the year, which is very nice. So the EAP is very easy to apply to. You can apply on Queen's. It's on Queen's Sport. There's application forms, and I definitely, as I said earlier, I wouldn't hesitate in trying to apply for it. Even if you're potentially not at that elite level in your sport, there's still many brilliant bursaries and scholarships that Queen's offer throughout all sports really, and bursaries as well. So why wouldn't you apply for it? it eases things financially, and then as well the packages, both kind of your physio needs and everything are covered as well, so it really is a win-win. In terms of Queen Sport is amazing, and I'm truly saying that. It's also, I've referenced it several times throughout the video about how easing your transition from school into uni life, it can be a big step, but Queen's as well kind of has definitely made it easier for me. So this would have been my first year of senior rugby with Queen's since I'm only 18. What makes it really nice is that you're playing with guys you would have played against, say, at schoolboy level, or even, I know personally, I played at provincial level with, and knowing those guys going in was honestly invaluable, and it makes you feel so much more comfortable with everything in Queen's Sport. And I would say that is similar, not just in rugby, but in all the sports provided at Queen's, because people of similar ages and then of course similar abilities will be there, and it'll make your experience so much more better.
Hi everyone, my name's John and I study French and Spanish here at Queen's University Belfast. So, as you can probably tell from my accent, I do originally come from Northern Ireland. I actually come from Liverpool in England, and there's quite a lot of people at Queen's that have also made a similar move from GB to Northern Ireland. And I'm going to give a couple of reasons why I chose to do that and why I chose my course, French and Spanish, specifically. So around 2.5 years ago, when I was looking through many different websites, universities, and I was going on open days, I was looking around red brick universities like Sheffield, Newcastle, and they were all great, but I also wanted to look further afield, so I looked at Queen's, which is a red brick itself, and I looked at the website online. I was quite impressed, did my course. It allowed me to do Spanish with beginner's French, which is fantastic, that I could pick up a second language from scratch. And I thought, well, I'll put it down anyway, and then I'll go and visit. So I put it down as one of my 5 choices, and then I think around February I went to visit Queen's, and I completely fell in love with it. It was kind of a mixture of the city life, of it being a small city but quite a vibrant city similar to Liverpool, and the course of studying beginner's French, which other universities didn't allow. And the lecturers that I got to speak to on the open day were really passionate, and I just felt blown away by how much knowledge they were sharing, even on the open day, what they were talking about, what optional modules I could take, and it just made me feel that I have a passion for that too. And I wasn't even there yet, so it's quite a weird feeling, but I'm so glad that I went to see the open day so I could see what Belfast is like, and more specifically what Queen's is like too. Another reason why I chose the course was because it offered a year abroad, which really appealed to me. So with French and Spanish, you get to study in a country where one of the languages is spoken. So in my case, I'm off to France to teach English as part of study abroad. So that will be my 3rd year, so in September. But you can go further afield, so you could go to, say, Canada, you go to the French Caribbean, those that study Portuguese, some are going to Brazil, which is kind of cool too. So yeah, that was just another reason why Queen's really appealed, because they really got across that year abroad aspect too, and how beneficial that is for students. I was lucky enough to get the GB scholarship, which is open to all GB applicants who put Queen's as their firm choice, and I only needed ABB for that, so it's quite accessible for most students, and most of my friends who are also English have that too. And as part of that scholarship, it involves £1,000 off tuition fees every year, so I think I pay £8,250 instead of £9,250, which is just an extra help, which my friends at other universities wouldn't get. It also included, I think, around £250 for flights every year of study, so I could fly from Liverpool to Belfast, around £50 return, and if you're given £200 every year towards those flights, that makes a huge difference too. And it also includes a free upgrade to an ensuite at Elms Village or the new city centre accommodation, which was great because I think that was around £25 a week saving, which is fantastic. And you got an own ensuite in first year, which is fantastic. It's also worth mentioning the Students' Union, which we're getting a brand new building opening, I think. It's opening quite soon. It's around a year and a half, so I'll still be there for that. And as part of the Students' Union, which we're in a temporary building at the minute, all the same clubs and societies are still there. So you can join as many clubs and societies as you want, as long as you have the free time to be able to do that. And if there isn't one there that you don't like, or there's one that you think's missing, then you can create your own club and society, which is fantastic. So I currently serve as the secretary of the Spanish and Portuguese Society, which is mainly an academic society that promotes language across the university, but it also has a lot of social aspects too. So every fortnight we do an intercambio, which includes language exchanges with native people in Belfast and Northern Ireland, mainly EU nationals, and students too, like on Erasmus, that kind of thing. And we do cultural activities, such as Brazilian Carnival Night and Tinto and Tapas, and it's just a great way to make friends. And friends across all years too. It's not just first years sticking together, it's really mixing, even like with postgrads. So I definitely recommend joining clubs and societies and really get that full student experience. So yeah, overall I'm really happy with my choice of studying at Queen's. I love how accessible it is from England. There are 2 airports in Belfast. You can also fly to Dublin. Flights are quite cheap, especially with the scholarship too. You can get the ferry as well. So yeah, overall I'm really happy, and I hope you make the right choice and come to Queen's too.
Hiya, my name's Rebecca and I'm from Northern Ireland. I live in about a town about an hour away from Belfast, but I live up in Belfast during term time in a student house. Currently I'm studying an integrated Masters in Electrical and Electronic Engineering. I just finished my 4th year, so about to go into 5th and final year. It's 5 years because I took a placement year. I loved my placement year. As a year in industry, I worked in Caterpillar designing power generators for 13 months, I think. Paid placement. Never going to get that experience again, but it means I'm coming out of university with experience, so I can have something to talk about in interviews, which was great. And if you are considering doing a course with a placement year, I would highly consider it. Some of the highlights for me during my time at Queen's, I'm one of those people that I like to get involved in things, so I've done quite a lot at my time at Queen's. I'm a member of Student Council, so this is a gathering of students that are elected into place, and we get to help decide. We decide. Queen's can't do anything without approving it through council, so we can lobby the university. Some of the things we passed this year were Environmental Act, so we have lobbied and got our student councillors that they have to encourage Queen's to go green. I think the deadline's 2030, but that's all because of council, and then that went to a student referendum, so students do get to decide what happens Queen's, which is something that I love. I've also been very lucky. I've got to go to Beijing through Queen's. That was a programme. I spent 3 weeks there at Beijing Institute of Technology, attending lectures, but also doing all the cultural things like the Great Wall of China, tea. I remember we went and got Peking duck one day, which was amazing. And that was all paid for by Queen's. It was all sponsored, and I get credit for doing that through the programme called Degree Plus. I'm not sure if anyone has talked about it before, but essentially anything that you do at Queen's, you get accredited for through Degree Plus. So when you get your degree, you get handed your degree in electrical engineering, but you also get a certificate that says, I've done a leadership course, I've been to Beijing, I worked for student recruitment, I was a member of council. So it shows employers that you've done something else during your time at university, which I think is amazing, because sometimes you don't realise what you're doing is a good thing and is actually really employable. So I mentioned leadership courses there. I've been very lucky that I have attended quite a few. The Student Union's Inspiring Leaders I did this year, which was great. I also completed one for females in STEM subjects, and through that I was actually very lucky and I got a scholarship, a monetary scholarship. And now I go back each year and talk to the ones that have won it this year. So it's forming a network, which is really good. Through that then, Queen's actually nominated me to apply for a Santander scholarship for women in engineering. And I actually won that, which was a shock to me. But as it stands, I'm the only girl in Northern Ireland to have this scholarship. And I'd never heard of it. Queen's were the ones that nominated me for it, which is what I love about Queen's. The career service and the support services will go above and beyond. So this scholarship I'd never heard of, I got an email one day asking me to apply for it. So I always feel that if you go out there and put yourself forward, nothing bad's going to happen of it. The worst they can say is no. That's always my advice to students, by the way, if you do come to Queen's, or if you don't, no matter what you go forward to do, why not apply for things that you think you'd never have a chance of? The Beijing that I applied for, I was actually a year too young. I had applied for a different scholarship, or a different programme, sorry, and they were like, that one's full, but can we do this one? So definitely keep your eye on emails and opportunities, because why not apply for them if you're even remotely interested? So I chose to study at Queen's because I'm sure you know by now that Queen's is a Russell Group university, but also they have amazing ties worldwide. So when I was in China, I said, oh, I'm from Queen's University Belfast, and they knew that, they knew where that was, and they knew how good of a university it was and how good reputation it has. It's also, in terms of electrical engineering, it's also one of only 8 universities as part of the Power Academy. So that was a scholarship opportunity that only students from those 8 universities could apply to, worth I think like £30,000 or £40,000. I didn't get it, but it was a big draw, and you'll see that across the university in a lot of different courses, that there is quite a lot of scholarship opportunities and quite a lot of work placement and local industry focused work. I also, the support services are really good at Queen's and are really there to help you. For example, I'm type 1 diabetic, so I registered with disability services. I didn't necessarily need it, but it allows me, I do my exams in a smaller room, I have a little more flexibility with attendance in case I have to attend appointments. But I'm quite friendly with a lot of students that are registered with disability services, and even they say it's such a good service. So definitely you can reach out to them if you do have any concerns, even if you're not a student and just want to see what would happen. But in terms of support services, the career service is what really emphasised to me, and the student union services. So I'm a little bit biased because obviously I do quite a lot of work with them through council, but also I work reception in the student union. But the student officers are there. They are full-time officers. They are elected by the student population in the start of term, or the end. It's in summer term, so we've just elected our council members for next, or our student representatives for next year, and they are doing constant work trying to get student voice heard in those different committees across Queen's. I've mentioned the couple of scholarships that I've been lucky to get, and those are just from putting myself out there and just applying for different things. My CV is kind of getting too long now. I've nearly maxed out the Student Plus, and I've still got a year of uni left to do. I've only done 3 in university. I've done 4 years total, but 3 in Queen's. So really there's so much to do. I haven't really got involved in clubs and societies, but the clubs and societies at Queen's, there's over 200. There's anything from chess to Quidditch to underwater hockey to cheerleading, and literally everything in between. So if there is something that you really want to do at Queen's, and you maybe do hockey from school and you want to keep that going, absolutely join the hockey team. Or coming to university is a great time to start something new. So you can try sport. My housemate took up rowing and I don't see her anymore. But yeah, just to finish up, I really enjoyed my time at Queen's, and it's such a good support service. If you do have anything that worries you or you're concerned about during your time at university, Queen's are always there to support you. Different services for different things, so you always get the right advice you need. And again, I would highly recommend, if you do come to any institute of further education, really get involved. This is the time that you can develop your CV and develop who you are as a person to make yourself stand out in the field of graduates. Thank you very much and good luck.
Well, thank you very much to all our students who put together those videos for us. I think it's absolutely amazing to see that for each of you, you're able to tap into so many different areas of Queen's, which is amazing. You kind of covered it all, so that's brilliant. I'm just going to open up our chat box now, so if anyone does have any questions, feel free to fire away. Before we start, Charlotte, are you with us?
I think so.
You are.
Yeah.
Just before we start, and as the questions are coming through, can I ask you just what attracted you to Queen's? So you obviously are from London, but you decided to come across to Belfast. So what really attracted you to Queen's?
Well, when I was looking at universities, all of them, I was looking at far away. I thought that university was the easiest opportunity to go and live somewhere completely different. So I was looking at like Glasgow, Edinburgh and York, and then Belfast as well. And then I actually went to a day that they held in London, so similar to this, but like it was in a hotel in London, and they like told us about how Belfast was, how Queen's was, and they just really won me over. So I actually firmed it without having ever been to Belfast, which was a little bit scary, but I'm really glad I did it. So
perfect. And Rebecca, for you, obviously you're from Northern Ireland, you're from Ballymena, just down the road. Did you get tempted to go across to a university in England or Scotland or Wales, or you're happy to go to Queen's the whole time?
Yeah, no, I absolutely looked at other universities. Queen's was there's two universities in Northern Ireland, but Queen's was my only one I was interested in here. But I'd applied to universities over in England, Scotland, Wales, down south as well. But I kept comparing them to Queen's. I'd been to the open days, I'd been to some of the events like this, and everything wasn't comparable to me. I was always thinking back to those events and the information I knew about Queen's.
Brilliant. Okay, our questions are starting to come in thick and fast here, so we'll make a start. The first one here, it says, I've heard that people who are local often go home at the weekends, and I was wondering if this is accurate. So maybe, John, if you could answer that one, what happens at the weekends?
Yeah, so many, I'd say roughly half of Northern Irish students do go home at the weekends, and others stay. So I had lots of friends from England. I had friends that were internationals too that obviously couldn't go home. And the weekends I used to study. I used the free gym membership when I stayed at Queen's accommodation, which is off peak, so you could use the weekends. So my friends got jobs, went to the library, went to get breakfast at cafes. So don't presume that it's going to be like a ghost town at the weekends when it's not. Lots of people come to Belfast for like Saturday, Sunday. So the city is always quite busy. Even some students do go home, so there's still plenty to do.
I think some students go home, get their washing dumped off with mom and dad, and then come out again at the weekend. But I suppose as well, Charlotte, would you say that if you're staying at home at the weekend, you build up relationships with other students that are staying?
Well, yeah, I think that's the thing. If you and your friends are staying, then they're more likely to stay as well. So I live with a lot of international students, but also two Northern Irish guys, and they rarely went home. But when they did, sometimes we go with them, which was actually quite nice. So we go like meet their families and like explore Northern Ireland a bit more, which was quite nice.
Brilliant. Next question here. How would you describe your first day at Queen's and what happened on your first day? Rebecca, do you want to go first on that one?
Well, I didn't live in Elm's accommodation. In my first year, I rented privately with friends from school. So I was lost pretty much the entire first week, maybe the first month. I was completely lost. I know in engineering at Elms, they gathered everyone together with the peer mentors. So at Queen's, most courses will have peer mentors, which is older students there that can help you with coursework, can help you find your way. I didn't have that, so I was lost, but the peer mentors did gather everyone at Elms in my course and watch them to their first class, which was quite lovely.
That's good.
Engineering also had, I don't know about other courses, but we had, during Freshers Week, we had some orientation, I would call it. So we just got in a big room with my entire class and did team building and getting to know you exercises, which was lovely. So you went into your first lecture and you knew people.
Yeah, that's good. And you felt, did you feel sort of regret that you didn't move into Queen's accommodation then? Maybe in first year?
Yeah, well, because I did live privately, I had to spend a lot more time in clubs and societies. I think I saw someone ask a question about Queen's Symphony Orchestra. I actually was a member of that in my first year. I played cello. I study engineering, but I play cello. So I found clubs and societies a great way of making friends. Because I didn't have to force myself to live with people I didn't know. I was slightly different in that when I started, BT 1 and 2 weren't open. So I lived technically too close to start accommodation, but if I had had the choice, I would have loved to stay in Queen's accommodation.
Super. And then just briefly, John, what about your first day?
First day, I just remember a ton of information because they give you loads of packs and you kind of read through. And the first day,
But you read through them all, John, I hope.
No, I think I got my flat in Belfast. Yeah, so a ton of information, just meeting loads of friends, meeting loads of people from all around the world, which was fantastic. It was such a whirlwind. The first week, I'd love to relive it all again because I think it was probably the best week of my life because just meeting loads of new people and seeing the city, it's just, yeah, I can't even pinpoint a specific memory because so much happened, but it was great.
Brilliant. What about you, Charlotte?
So I moved into BT2. I'd flown over with my parents. There was a brief half an hour where I was actually terrified, actually thought, what have I done? Because obviously I'd ordered all my stuff from IKEA and stuff to get there that day. Nothing had arrived yet, so I was sat in an empty room and I was like, oh my god. But then all my stuff arrived. It was fine. Went downstairs to BT2 as a big common area, and loads of people were just down there. So we all just met up, made friends. And I'm still great friends with some of those people now. So it is fine. You do just have to force yourself to step out of your comfort zone a bit.
So you all had a positive experience, bar 1.5 hour for Charlotte.
Yeah.
Just on that question about Queen's orchestra, the question is about, would you be able to join that orchestra if you weren't studying music? And the answer to that is absolutely. Do you know, the clubs and societies are open to anyone studying any program. So if you're doing engineering like Rebecca was, you can still be part of the orchestra. So this one is about student finance. So are you able to cancel student finance if you don't get into a specific course? Have any of you had any experience of that? Maybe not. Yeah, no.
You can change your application throughout. So I assume if you get into a specific course, you just go in and change.
Yeah, so student finance won't charge you if you don't get into the course, so you can be rest assured that the money won't be taken away on that point. We've got one here. Let me see. What was the hardest part about moving so far away from home? Don't know if this question applies to you, Rebecca, so maybe let John and Charlotte answer that one.
I would say it's easier than you first think. 2 years ago when I was going through the process of moving, I had lots of questions wondering what's it going to be like, but many of those fears, they do settle, and as soon as you're there and you find people in the same boat as you, it gets so much easier. And just throw yourself in there and have a yes attitude and try and meet friends for coffee, find other students that are also having to move away and talking to them, talking through it. And it is easier than you think, but I understand right now that you've got many questions and worries about that, but it's okay.
Super.
Yeah, I would say honestly, it's not that bad. although obviously it seems like it's really far away, even though like I have to get a flight, it's a lot quicker actually than most of my friends' trains to Leeds or Manchester. Like it's really, the world is getting so much smaller, so it's not that far. Like it's not scary, it's fine.
Super. This question's come in before we went into lockdown. How has everything moving online affected your studying? So as you were finishing up studying, how did that affect things? Were you able to cope okay with that? Rebecca, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, most of my courses had finished around, I think I only had a total of about a week's worth of online lectures. It's quite a novel experience. I'm sure most of the people on this call are doing their online schooling, but you can sit in your bed in your pajamas, which is quite a novel experience. You don't have to walk to class. It is a bit different in that you don't necessarily see people face to face, but you still see everyone that's on the call and you can still interact with everyone. So it's not too much of a disadvantage. Lecturers are always contactable by email as well as on a call. So I didn't find it was any disadvantage in terms of getting help from a lecturer.
Brilliant. Charlotte, what about you?
Well, I don't have that many contact hours anyway, actually, for English and history. It's a lot of self-study. Obviously, we still had some lectures online. There were some technical difficulties with some of them, but in the end, it went fine. And I only had the one exam because most of mine is essay-based anyway. So then that was just then changed into an exam, an essay online. So yeah, it was pretty straightforward. Like it was okay.
Perfect. The technical difficulties seem to be following you, Charlotte.
Yeah.
But we've got over that. We've got over that. I guess what I would add to that is, you know, I know there probably is a lot of apprehension out there, but this is going to be temporary, you know. So we're as a university, we are moving forward with this, and we're trying to cover all bases. So as as government regulations change, we will update our policies on how things are going to be next year. And it is just about keeping an eye out as to how that's going to work. And we'll put everything in place that we possibly can to allow students to get the best possible experience if they do have to do some of their study online. It's going to be a blended learning approach. So we're looking at some online courses, and as the social distance measures hopefully get shorter, it will be brought in that you'll be face-to-face for a lot of work as well. So that's where we're at the moment. What's the hardest? Oh no, we've done that one. Sorry. Are BT1 and BT2 ELMs widely seen as less social than BT9? So Charlotte, you lived in BT2, is that right?
Yeah.
John, where did you live?
I was BT2 as well. That's how I know Charlotte.
Yeah.
So is it less social than your friends in BT9?
I personally didn't think so. I think obviously each flat is going to be different, like each individual flat. But there was a really good common area where you could go and meet people and like you could start there. And obviously it was closer into town for loads of the bars and clubs anyway. So I personally didn't find that, but I don't know, maybe other people did.
Yeah, some people say that BT9, because you share with more people, you'll meet more people, which is quite obvious. But I just think living in the city was slightly better for me. It was a little bit more independent, but I still made friends for life there, and there was a common room. And it's just, especially at the weekends, because you're in the city centre, there's more things going on in the city than Elms Village, which is about half an hour walk from the city centre itself, which you can get a bus. But yeah,
Sure.
they're both social. I'm slightly biased towards BT2 because I live there, but it's up to you. Visit both if you can.
Yeah, I think it's about, like you say, trying to visit both, look at the online content we have for both and seeing which would suit you. There's going to be social aspects in both locations, in all three locations. We have residential life officers who are people that are employed to help you settle into university life. So certainly, if you want to find a social aspect, you can find it in all three of our locations. Rebecca, I'll direct this one to you. This person has dyslexia and they want to know how to apply for help and support. So you had mentioned that you went through that process with the disability services. So what was the process of applying for support?
So I had put on my UCAS form that I was, I can't remember what the option was. I think it was a long-term condition. So when I applied to Queen's and put it as my firm choice, they contacted me. And it was essentially a form saying if I was happy with my details being passed on to disability services. From that, I then had a one-to-one meeting. So each different subject has a different disability officer. So I had a one-to-one meeting. I brought my mum with the one for AACS, and we essentially talked through what I needed. So I'm lucky enough that I didn't really need much. I do my exams in what's called the green room. So there's maybe only 50 people in the room, and everyone in there is registered with disability services. So whether I'm in there in case I need to leave if my blood sugars go low, but people in there get extra time or they get bigger print. Some people do it on the computers. Essentially, disability services will go through what you need. So whether that's technology to help you, whether it's printing your exam paper on yellow paper, they will do it on a one-to-one basis. And that will continue each year. So if anything changes, you can get in contact with them and discuss it.
Super. So I guess the first protocol is declaring it on your UCAS form, and then they will follow up with you on that.
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't do it on the UCAS form, you can get in contact with them. All their information is on the website. So if anything changes for anyone during their time at university, so one of my housemates was diagnosed with anxiety earlier this year, and she was in final year, and she was able to get disability services set up for her. So it continues throughout your entire time.
Brilliant. I would just flag up if anybody, excuse me, is feeling they want to get in contact with the disability or wellbeing services, we have done a webinar on that. So you could go and watch that and get a bit more information there, or you can contact them directly. We'll send the details to that person specifically, but thank you, that was great. Is living at home a disadvantage socially? I mean, Rebecca, you're the most social person, I think, in Queen, everything. So I don't think it's disadvantage to you, but what would be a brief bit of advice for people that are living at home?
Yeah, if you're living at home, you're interacting less with people, so you're not meeting the 11 people you live with in Elms. So get involved in everything else. Make friends in your course, make friends, clubs and societies, get involved in anything you have a remote interest in. And I find some of my best friends in my part-time jobs that I have at Queen's. So you'll find friends no matter where you do and what you do.
Perfect. Again, this one's come in for you, Rebecca. How do you find the electrical engineering course? Is it very demanding, as this is a subject this person is interested in?
So we're on a call with 2 arts students, so they might want to close their ears, but first year you'll have over 30 hours contact in electrical engineering. It's a joint first year with software and electrical systems engineering and an audio engineering course. So you'll do programming, you'll do electrical, you'll do electronic, you'll do maths. I love my maths module. But so it's one of the most contact hours. So in terms of that, it's quite demanding, but then we would have a lot less self-study than art students would. So you kind of trade off contact hours with self-study. So it's intense, it is, but as you go between second and third year, your contact hours reduce slightly, and you get to pick your modules, so you get to shape. This is the same across all the university. If you don't get choice in first year, in second and third year and onwards, you do get to choose your modules and you get to shape your degree. So is it demanding if you're enjoying it?
Yeah, and I guess it's all about time management as well, and working on that. So perfect. Are there many jobs available to students, and is it easy to have a job alongside studying? John, do you want to cover that one?
I think it's definitely manageable. Queen's recommends that. I don't think they recommend 15 hours maximum a week. I think around that. I just do the open days, so it's usually in semester 2, and I'm also a GB ambassador, which is a couple of hours here and there a week. I've got friends that work part-time in the city centre. They have an average around 8 hours a week. I think it's definitely manageable, and of course, if you're finding that it's distracting you from your studies, you could always quit. You could always try it, maybe semester 1, and then see how you're going. But yeah, I'd say it's manageable.
Perfect.
I would just Can I just say
Yeah,
that that's
yeah,
actually
of
what I
course.
did? So first term of first year, I worked in a bar in city centre, and that wasn't working for me, so I quit that one at Christmas. And then in that January, I was working in a different cafe, and it was fine. I think I'm on like my 4th job now, so there are so many. Like,
Yeah,
Just
plenty
to
of
add to that
opportunity.
as well, sorry to keep it going.
No, no, not at all.
There's quite a lot of jobs within Queen's.
Yeah.
So I mentioned in my video, I work in the Students' Union. I work for recruitment. I think we're all tour guides, and a lot of them are part time. If you want it, you can say you want it. So it's a lot of flexibility with ours, which is what's so good about working for Queen's is they understand deadlines, they understand exams. So there is a lot of flexibility in the work, but it is there if you want it.
Great. Next one. This is getting into the good stuff now. What is the social life like around the university? John, do you want to kick us
Yeah.
off?
So you've got your stuff with the universities. You've also got the SU and the SU bar, and like I said before, the new SU is being built, which should be opening in around a year and a half, which is fantastic. You've also got Belfast as a city, which is incredibly social. You'll see, are they like bikes where you often see groups of people with they play like
yeah,
music
the
and they
booze bike.
pedal along. It's like a booze bus or something. You'll see that. That's kind of the spirit. Some parts of Belfast too, which is great. You've also got loads of, like independent coffee shops and bookshops, which if that's more your sort of thing, I know it's mine. So yeah, definitely. There's definitely a lot of diversity in the social aspects, and you kind of pick and choose what you want. And there's like loads of restaurants, bars, nightclubs as well. So you'll enjoy it.
Charlotte, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, so I would honestly say that it links into other things. So as many different like groups of friends you're involved with, that's how good your social life will be. So I had nights out like with my flatmates, with like their friends. I'm on the dance team. We do social nights out as well. And then like with your course mates as well. So like you could easily fill every night if you wanted to. Like don't, but you could. And then there's so many like different varieties of nights out you can do. Like you can just do a pub. You can do like the speakeasy, or there's like the city centre and stuff like that. So there's so many options.
Brilliant. This question has come in. It says, "What is the acceptance of LGBT students like at Queen's?" So if I just start that, they're very accepting. Queen's as an environment is really accepting of students and staff that are LGBT, and we have a society that is linked to that as well. So you could join the society and meet like-minded people. So there's a real good acceptance of LGBT students. Anybody want to add anything to that?
I think if you have a look through the SU Facebook page, it just shows you just how accepting. The entirety of Queen's, anyone that wants to can take part in Pride each year. We celebrate everything, and it's such a lovely community. The LGBT society is one of the best society at Queen's, and they are there to represent everyone, and it's such an accepting place. There's also an LGBT part-time student officer, a trans officer. I think there's a couple of others within that bracket, and they volunteer their time, but they're elected into place, and they're there to represent students. So they sit on councils, they sit on boards in Queen's and make sure that any decision is supported.
Perfect. Thank you. Is Belfast and the university a safe place to study?
Absolutely. I think, like in any city, there are like there's parts of Liverpool that I personally wouldn't go to. There's parts of London that you wouldn't go to. But Belfast is safe. I wouldn't recommend students study there if it weren't safe, and I feel definitely content there. Like when I said I was going to Queen's to my parents, they only remember Northern Ireland from like 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So so much has changed, and I feel safe, 100%.
Super.
Just
Charlotte?
to add, sorry.
Yeah, I would say it's so safe, especially like all the accommodations have security, which has been quite helpful sometimes. So like no one who can get in who like if they're not a student, they can't come in. So that's a really good benefit for like when you're coming back from nights out or like from work or anything, like only students will be in the building. So it is completely safe.
Brilliant. Rebecca, you had something to add?
Yeah, just to add to Charlotte's, that's the same in the library and the students' union and everything. You do need to show a student card to get in, so you know that everyone there has a right to be. But also Belfast itself is the safest city in the UK statistically. So crime is the lowest in the entire UK. So it's a definitely safe city, and I would feel comfortable walking home by myself from a night out, which I wouldn't be in any other place I've lived.
Brilliant. Okay, this one is coming and it says, do you know anyone who is vegan? And if so, are there options for them in terms of food within student budgeting? Before
Yeah.
you guys answer, I'm going to plug Umi on Botanic,
Oh, it's
which
so
is
good.
this so nice. I'm not a vegan, but some members of staff that I work with are, and we go there sometimes. It's
It's
class.
so good.
It is
Um,
good.
the Students' Union shop actually has an entire vegan section. So this was something that one of the student officers really lobbied in the last few years. So anything from the pastas to snack foods, they've got a whole vegan range, and it's the same price as non-vegan options, which is amazing. The chocolate cake, I think it's from the Hungry Vegan, is one of the companies they use, but the chocolate cake they sell in single portions is amazing. And I've definitely not eaten loads of them during my shifts in the Students' Union. But I believe there's also a vegan society.
Yeah.
There is, yeah.
I think, yeah. So that's an entire support group to share recipes and share experiences with. I'm not personally vegan, but one of my friends is, and she loves it. And some of the stuff she makes is amazing on a student budget.
I think
Yeah.
Boojum also has a vegan option now.
Yes, yeah.
They have the vegan sour cream as well.
Yeah, so there's plenty of options on a student budget. This question has come in specifically about nursing. In nursing, how many days at Queen's, and is there certain set days that you go? So we'll send you a link to an email address where you can ask people specifically in the nursing school. But just to give you an overview of that, it's generally 6 weeks in placement and then 6 weeks in uni, and that kind of routine would transition through the years. So you do get plenty of time with placement. If you have any family commitments or anything, you can work that out with the school, and they will help you and support you through that. Any nursing friends? No.
But there is also childcare at Queen's. So if it's young children, there is a childcare creche that can work out for students and staff if needed.
Brilliant. Next question. Where can I keep things in the summer holidays when I go back to England after uni finishes? John, do you want to pick that one up?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you're going for accommodation, Queen's accommodation for second year, you can apply and it's free to store your stuff with Queen's. If you're moving to private accommodation, which I did in second year, you can, I think it's Go Box or something like that. It's quite cheap, and they send you the boxes, they pick up your belongings, and then they store them. I just got one of my friends to put it in his loft, which he kindly did for free, which is easier. So by the time this time next year, so like May, you'll know what to do. And I agonized hours about what to do, but I kept it. My friends were very accepting about that. They just picked it all up and stored it for me, which is greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I know a few people that have used GoBox and they had no issues with it. The next question actually relates to that in a way. How did you get all your stuff across from England to Belfast? Charlotte, how did you manage that?
I just didn't bring that much stuff with me, if I'm honest.
Okay.
I think I did like one big suitcase of clothes, and then I pretty much like ordered all my stuff when I got here. So most of my friends were going off to IKEA and like buying it to then drive up. But I just did a big order for the day that I arrived at Queen's, because you can like pick when you want it to arrive in a time slot. And then BT2 like reception were really good for like receiving it, and then they just like told me when it was there, and I went down and got it.
Perfect. I think there's a company, is it Uni Baggage, or they've maybe changed their name, or yeah, they would do that. So if you check them out, they'll be able to help you get your stuff across. We've had one specific. Sorry, Rebecca, go ahead.
Does Flybe still do this 2 suitcases?
Flybe's no longer.
Yeah, no,
Sorry,
yeah.
ignore it.
They did, but not anymore. how many, so this is specifically about medicine. We obviously heard from Matthew there, but how many contact hours are there for medicine per week? So the medicine hours are, they're fairly extensive. You know, as Matthew mentioned in the video, it does kind of relate directly to school. So in school, you're in 9 to 3. With medicine, you're in 9 to 4. I'm not sure the exact number of contact hours, but certainly if you, again, we'll send you the email for Ask MHLS, which is the faculty that houses medicine, and they'll be able to answer that for you. Any of you guys, any medic friends? Shed a bit of light?
I live with 4 medics, and they do have a lot of hours, but it is manageable. Like, they still have a social life. I still get to see them, so it is doable.
Perfect. Let me see. How easy is it to get private housing after first year? Rebecca, maybe you could pick up on this one.
Yeah, so around about February or March, people start looking for flats. Pretty easy. It depends on how many people you want to live with. So I live in a 3-bed flat, but it's not. I remember in my first year, I privately rented, and I was able to get a flat in September. So absolutely not urgent to get anything. There's loads of student areas. There's some right around Queen's. There's some beside the library. There's some up towards my school, engineering, and then there's more towards medicine. So you'll find that around Queen's, most of the houses there are student accommodation, which makes it a lovely community. So I know all of my neighbours are students. So you walk out the door and you can start up a conversation because you have something in common with someone.
Sure. I guess if anyone has any sort of query, they're unfamiliar with the areas and they want to ask any questions, our email address is on the screen there. So feel free to get in contact with us and we can maybe refer you to people who are living in those areas and we can suss it out for you, certainly.
There is also, sorry, just to interrupt, there is also a housing group, rate your tenancy or rate out of tenancy or something. That was set up by Kieran, the welfare officer this year. So you can go on and look up a specific letting agent or a specific area and see reviews that students have written about it.
Perfect. There's a couple of questions have come in about taking out Queen's accommodation and then if you decided you wanted to live in a house after that. So you do sign up to a contract and you would have to fulfill that contract. It could be either 38 weeks or 52 weeks. And there's another question about would you recommend applying to accommodation in the first semester of this year? I mean, like I spoke about earlier, we're going to a more blended learning approach, which will obviously be easing as and when we can. But my advice would be certainly move into accommodation and meet people and get to know people in your course and get to know people from across the country. Those things are really part of your university life as well as the studies. So I guess my reassurance for people on that one would be lockdown. Again, lockdown isn't going to be forever. So we're building towards getting back to our new normal, if you will. And, you know, if anyone has any concerns about what the safety of the university is going to look like, again, we're working off government guidelines and we're going to be updating that and getting information out to people as soon as we can. So just watch this space at the minute. We will be updating you on how we're going to move forward in terms of safety around the university. So if we have missed anything, we will get back to you, by the way. So if anyone has asked a question that we haven't covered, we'll get back to you. But we're going to wrap up now. I'm just conscious of time. Before we do, I'll ask each of you this. So if people are sitting there thinking about applying to Queen's, they're maybe on the fence, what would be your final bit of advice? And, you know, what would you say to them as a closing sentence for people thinking about applying to Queen's? Rebecca.
I would just say that Queen's is such a lovely community, and if you do decide to come to Queen's and live in accommodation, bring a doorstop on your first day, prop open your door and get conversations flowing. It's a lovely way to meet people.
Brilliant advice. Charlotte, what would be your advice?
Just get involved. Try not to be too nervous. As much as it's a cliche, everyone's in the same boat and they'll all be willing to make friends. So just go for it.
So you have 1/2 hour of regret, and then you're
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
you're in it.
That's
You're in
literally it.
John, just to finish, then I'll give you the final word.
Oh, thank you. I would say you're going to get so many opportunities at uni, and just have a yes attitude. Say yes to everything within reason, and just enjoy it and make the most of it, because it won't last forever.
Brilliant. Listen, guys, thank you so much for taking your time to do that. I'm sure everybody that has attended really appreciates it. If we could virtually do a round of applause somehow, I would. But thank you guys so much. It's been brilliant.
Thank you.
Like I said, if you do have any more questions, you can contact student recruitment at qub.ac.uk. And if you have any questions specifically for any of the guys here, or Matthew, who was in the video as well, then we can forward those on to these guys and they can get back to you. So thank you very much for that, everyone. Check out our website for our upcoming events. We have another student live at Queen's event next week, and there'll be information up in the next couple of days about an event where we are going to be meeting some of our alumni. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.